think we're in a position where it's more complicated than last time. Obviously, he has this huge real estate portfolio that I think what sort of people that look at these conflicts of interest, I think they're most concerned about the foreign dealings and the foreign sort of investments that he has. And we're sort of seeing them, when he first started in 2016 or 2017, I should say, he sort of made this promise that he would try and keep things separate. You saw the sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr., try to take over more of the business, whereas he kind of, even though he sort of retained control or ownership, that they would kind of do the day-to-day stuff.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by White House reporter Naomi Lim. Naomi, President Biden is leaving office with some unwelcome news in the polls. What might that be?
So I think maybe not surprising, Biden is leaving office with some of his lowest approval ratings from his entire presidency. I think there was this idea shortly after he stood down and let sort of give room for Vice President Kamala Harris to take the Democratic nomination, that he saw a little bit of a boost. I think people were really appreciative of the fact that he did that. But at the same time, I think after things like him pardoning his son Hunter in a very sweeping, expansive sort of act of clemency, I think that's sort of taken, chipped away at any grounds that he may have gained from the summer.
Sure.
Basically, what we found was in this poll by Marquette Law School from the great state of Wisconsin, a battleground state, that essentially he's
a state that Biden carried and some other people did not.
That is true. That is true.
Yep.
But he's sort of exiting with net negative 32 percentage points in terms of his approval rating. So that's very, very low. But what I thought was really interesting about this poll is, one, we also saw a dip in his favorability ratings as well as in Harris's favorability ratings, which was interesting because when she was sort of anointed, she sort of made up lots of ground with that.
Right.
The other interesting thing from this poll is regards to President-elect Donald Trump. That poll had started asking respondents what they thought about his presidency, sort of,
retrospectively.
Exactly. And they found that there's positive gains in how people were thinking about it, which I think happens a lot. I mean, we saw that with former President George W. Bush. He was very sort of unpopular, particularly with liberals when he left, but particularly with memes with him and former First Lady Michelle Obama, he's sort of gaining...
Eating candy together.
Exactly.
And Miss Me Yet billboards.
Yeah, and struggling to put his poncho on at, what was it, President Trump's inauguration. And so I think that we're seeing that with Trump. Whether Trump can sort of hold that ground, over the next 4 years sort of obviously remains to be seen, but it's interesting to see that those trends are reflected in such a short time frame.
And of course, Biden's poll numbers were probably a net drag on Harris's support and also may have helped fuel Trump's political rehabilitation a little bit.
Yeah.
So now that Donald Trump is back, about to be back, kind of already semi-back, some of the controversies that greeted his first term are back for his second. And one of those would be the entanglements of the government and his extensive business empire.
Yeah, and I think we're in a position where it's more complicated than last time. Obviously, he has this huge real estate portfolio that I think what sort of people that look at these conflicts of interest, I think they're most concerned about the foreign dealings and the foreign sort of investments that he has. And we're sort of seeing them, when he first started in 2016 or 2017, I should say, he sort of made this promise that he would try and keep things separate. You saw the sons, Eric and Donald Trump Jr., try to take over more of the business, whereas he kind of, even though he sort of retained control or ownership, that they would kind of do the day-to-day stuff. What we're seeing now is that Eric Trump in sort of a couple of interviews has said that there is going to be an ethics plan, but it's not going to sort of they're not going to ban themselves from sort of dealing with foreign governments, which I think is concerning. The other thing that we have to be mindful of is that he now has this massive investment in Truth Social, a social media platform, which he uses a lot, and it's helpful for him to get his message out there, but it's a publicly traded company with anyone being able to invest in it. And so that's another thing that we have to be mindful of going forward.
And Devin Nunes, who's the CEO of that company, is going to be serving Trump in an advisory capacity in the administration.
Exactly, and to that end, all of these people that he's bringing on, whether they're in a Senate confirmed position or not, for the best example is Elon Musk, the CEO and founder of Tesla and SpaceX, having sort of a very prominent position not so much in a cabinet role, but in an advisory role in a way, particularly when the government has very expensive contracts with his companies, and he's party of different investigations and things like that. And so I think that there are these, even if there's nothing ethically wrong with what they're doing, there's a perception of sort of just something, not feeling quite right in terms of conflicts of interest. And so I think that people on the outside are going to be complaining. Whether those are toothless complaints, we'll see. We saw sort of Senator Elizabeth Warren write a letter.
Tweet.
I know, I'm very online. Write an official letter to the transition, sort of wanting more information about Elon Musk's role, and their response was just to sort of make fun of her with her former claim, or her claims to Native American ancestry.
Sent smoke signals.
Yeah,
Yep.
we shouldn't really joke about that. But basically that, sort of just dismissing it, and I think that we're going to see them sort of shrug their shoulders a lot more at this in the next 4 years.
So another fight that's rearing its head from the previous term is Trump versus the media. And there have been a number of lawsuits, and in the past, Trump hasn't had a lot of success when he's sued various outlets that he accuses of fake news or election interference and other things like that. But the ABC News settlement has kind of rekindled concern about some of these things, no?
Yeah, and I think the main thing is, I think there was a lot of commentary and punditry over the fact that ABC did agree to this settlement, because I think there was speculation that they had sort of strong legal grounds to sort of fight this thing. But because I think we're at the start of a new administration where access is sometimes key.
Right.
There's speculation that that's maybe why they agreed to it, to a huge amount of money, mind you, $15 million plus $1 million in legal fees, and as well as an apology.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that sort of muddies the landscape. But I think the one that was sort of a little bit more concerning is this idea of Trump suing the Des Moines Register and one of their really respected pollsters, because so basically he's sort of saying that it was election interference because they, before the election, had a poll that sort of said that Harris was in front in Iowa, and then Trump ended up winning by sort of double digits.
Right.
And she herself was sort of questioning like what the results, but she was standing by her methodology, and for sort of Trump to sort of not to just litigate over polls that particularly weren't favorable for him, I think sets a dangerous precedent. The Des Moines Register and their parent company Garnett are sort of standing by what they sort of produced, but I think it sort of creates like a chilling effect with the media, particularly moving forward, because these are very expensive to fight.
Mm-hmm. And there's just the feeling that Trump is starting to push the envelope in what he is trying to challenge legally here.
That's correct.
Thank you, Naomi. You can read Naomi and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.